It is a little hot to be picking out September TBR, but here we are. Hey folks, my name is Jen, and yeah, today we are going to be seeking out books that I'm gonna read in September, hopefully, maybe. TBRs haven't been working for me so well this year. So, we're gonna do a quick look here at my TBR shelves that are behind me. I've done this before where I kind of take you with me as I decide what books, plural, that I'm going to be reading for the month. So, yeah, let's do that again. Pardon the mess. I haven't really gotten the bookshelves ready or anything, so you're just gonna see the mess that they are right now, because here you go. Okay, so I do have a couple of books set aside already that are like for research for my work in progress. We're gonna be looking at what else I want to read in September. So you can see I have my August books I've read so far. It's not that many. So, okay, fantasy. See, fantasy is weird because I'm not always in the mood for fantasy in fall. Oftentimes that's more of a winter, summer thing for me. So, no, I don't think I'm feeling any fantasy. So, I don't think we're going to do that. So let's go down to the next shelf. We've got fantasy and sci-fi and then classics. Okay, so I definitely need to pick out my classic for the month. Let's see. This is definitely a Christmas thing. I might be interested in Slaughterhouse-Five, but I don't know. Ooh, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Perfect Fall Reads. You know what? I think I'm gonna go with his short stories. And then, ooh, I do want to read Edgar Allan Poe, but I think I'm going to save that for October. Then we have the beginnings of my nonfiction. Let's see. Ooh, I could read Notes of a Native Son. What else? There's my coffee. In Cold Blood, that might be more of an October thing. Let's see. Nonfiction. What do I feel like? Do I even feel like nonfiction? That is the better question. Oh, I know. Hey, it can be nonfiction and also count as my book that I really need to freaking finish reading. And I'll go back to Duchess of Death. Ooh. And as for fall reads, I already know that I want to pick up the fall of the year. Duh. Let's see, then we've got my historical fiction and literary fiction. What do I want to pick up? Let's see. I still haven't read Love in the Time of Color. I could read that. Ooh, Mango Shaped Space. I haven't picked that up yet. You know what? I haven't tackled this yet, and I should. And as for horror and all of that, let's see. Do I want to get into horror yet? It's not technically October, but it's getting towards spooky season. So, maybe a book that's spooky but not super spooky. So we'll go with Beloved. So first of all, for the things I just grabbed, I, of course, am trying to continue reading a classic or attempting to read a classic every single month. So, decided to pick up Nathaniel Hawthorne's short stories. This is a collection that I bought at the House of Seven Gables several months ago when I went to visit. It was awesome. If you're super into history or you're interested in the history of Salem, if you're into Nathaniel Hawthorne, definitely you should go check it out. They also have his birthplace, his house. They picked it up and like moved it to the same location as the Seven Gables, so you can go on a tour of both of those. It's really cool. So, yeah, I got this book here and wanted to set it aside and read it for fall because, and I think this is because of the book House of Seven Gables and also like Scarlet Letter. I just always feel like those are very September, October, like fall, mildly unsettling reads. Yeah, I have decided to pick this up. This says a collection of his short stories. So this has several of his short stories. Here's the index in here. They are from, I think, previous collections. So there's Twice Told Tales, there's a whole chunk of those. Mosses from an Old Manse. The Snow Image and Tales and Sketches. And I know that I've read one of these before, which is Young Goodman Brown. That was a story that we covered in either high school or college. I forget when. But it was a spooky little tale, so definitely excited to pick up this and read some of his other writings. He's a very fascinating person, so I think this is going to be a great start to the fall season. Get some unsettling tales, some tales about old New England and stuff like that. I'm excited. Then for books that I haven't finished reading that I really need to finish reading, I'm going to go back to Duchess of Death, which is the unauthorized biography of Agatha Christie by Richard Hack. I got to page like 64 or 65 the last time I read this, or the last time I picked it up basically. I stopped reading in the middle of the chapters about Agatha Christie's marriage to her first husband, Archibald Christie, who was a major asshole. So I just kind of stopped reading because I really dislike him, and I hated hearing about him again. So I definitely need to just go back to this, suck it up, plow through those chapters, and then get into the good shit, which is everything that comes after that. And I think this is a pretty good one for the start of fall anyway, because mysteries, murder, mayhem, yeah. Okay, as for other fall related books, first of all, I think that just because this book kind of gets me into the fall mood, I think I'm going to do another rereading of Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. It's a graphic novel about two friends that basically, they're not friends the rest of the year, but they're like pumpkin patch friends. Like every time between like, I think it's September 1st through Halloween, they're like best friends all through high school, and then they say goodbye to each other at Halloween, and that's basically it. And now this is their senior year. They don't know if they're going to be coming back to the pumpkin patch. They can come back for a visit, but obviously when they're away at college, they can't be there every weekend. So things are changing, and it's like their last night of shenanigans, basically. It has such a fall feel. It's super cute. I really love like the artwork. It's colorful and great, and it just puts me in the fall mood, which is kind of hard to get at. I mean, it's still August currently right now, but it's nearing the end of August and it's still so incredibly hot, and it just doesn't feel like fall, even though I'm desperately trying to make fall happen by like putting up fall things and eating lots of apples and stuff. But I'm hoping that this kind of like helps me get more into that fall mood come September. Speaking of fall moods, I also want to pick up The Fall of the Year by Howard Frank Mosher. I have not read this one before. So basically, the blurb on the back calls it an autobiographical novel about love in all its forms, from friendship to the most passionate romance, in a place where family, community, vocation, and the natural world still matter profoundly. So it takes place in the fictional Kingdom County, Vermont, which is like right up basically by the border of Canada. In Vermont, it's like right up in there, and all of the very eccentric, very quirky characters that inhabit the county. And he calls it an autobiographical novel, but this is about like an entirely different person. So I'm guessing that this is basically just like in his normal vein of things, which is one of the characters is telling the story of their like growing up, their youth, basically in a place and a time that's kind of disappearing because progress and like farms are depleting and everything like that. That's really what he focuses on in a lot of his novels. I believe this takes place in like the 40s or 50s. So yeah, I love his other books. They are some of my favorites, and I haven't read this one yet, so I'm very excited to pick this up. I think this is going to be just really great. It's going to get me also into the fall mood. It's going to be very like nostalgic, or really like I wasn't around then, obviously, so it is the kind of book that leaves you nostalgic for like a time that you never experienced, sort of thing. But I'm very interested basically in this, and I think it's going to be really good. I think it's going to like give me a lot of feelings. And I'm also planning on doing a reread of Northern Borders by Howard Frank Mosher. This is one of his other novels. It's actually one of my all-time favorites of his, about a boy, Austin Tut Kittredge, and basically his life from when he arrived in Kingdom County after his mother died when he was 5 until he is about 18 and like ready to go off to college. Basically covers his life living up in rural Kingdom County with his grandparents, and it is just absolutely beautiful and at times really funny, and it's just very poignant and very lovely. So I'm planning on also doing a reread of this, because I'm hoping to, and I know I've said this before, I wanted to do like a video on Jane Austen, and then that did not happen because my brain just doesn't want to do shit this year. But I am hoping on potentially doing a video about Howard Frank Mosher by the end of the year, so I just wanted to pick this up because I wanted to like re-experience it, but I also want to like prepare to make a video about him, hopefully before this year is over. We'll see. And then I have a couple of other books that I also wanted to get to, to get more of like getting into the spooky-ish books. I decided I want to do a reread of Beloved by Toni Morrison. This is about a woman named Sethi who escaped from slavery several years ago with her children, but unfortunately very tragic circumstances happened, and her family are still haunted by those tragic circumstances. But they're just kind of doing their thing, or trying to survive basically in rural Ohio, and this takes place like several years after the Civil War has ended. And everything kind of changes when a mysterious girl shows up near their home and ends up kind of needing their help. It is like it's a very beautiful novel, but it's also very heartbreaking. It's also really intense and very creepy. So I read this in college. I think it was for my Women in Color Literature class, and it was just really good. So I want to see how I feel about it now, also as like outside of the academic setting. But this would be like really good book to re-experience, and also just a slight tinge of creepy or unsettling. And then a book that I've kind of been putting off for a while, but I really want to get to by the end of the year. So I'm gonna pick up The Hate You Give. This is by Angie Thomas, and this follows Star. Star is a high school girl who is kind of caught between two worlds. There's the world that she lives in, which is this like poor black neighborhood where her family, everybody she knows, is from, all of her childhood friends, and also the fancy, mostly white prep school that she got into. And she's kind of handling the balance between the two, but everything changes one night after she hangs out with one of her childhood best friends, and he is killed in front of her by police officers. So now Star is put in the forefront of just an awful situation, and she has to figure out what can she say about this situation. Everyone wants to know like what happened that night, and she's put in this like impossible situation of what should she say, how much should she say, because like it is potentially putting her and her community at risk. So I have been wanting to read this for a long time because it's a very important like novel, but honestly I've also been kind of putting it off because it's also a very heavy novel, and I feel like it's gonna give me all of the feelings. But it's like fall. It is very much a time to be in your feelings. So I wanna pick it up, and this is one of those books that I've already reached the goal of reading The Count of Monte Cristo this year, which was my ultimate goal. Now I need to get into the other books that I have been saying I need to read by the end of the year, and this is one of them. So we're gonna pick this bad boy up. I have a couple of books that are for my work in progress, basically. I do have already Roadside History of Vermont that I have started, and I'm kind of slowly making my way through. So I am working on that. But otherwise, I also want to hopefully pick up Wicked Vermont by Thea Lewis, which is basically the more wicked, darker side of Vermont history and the figures that are in it. So on the back, it talks about H.H. Holmes, who was America's first serial killer. He had like the murder hotel in Chicago during the World's Fair. So it says he may have been the University of Vermont's deadliest student. There's a Burlington resident who made an empire partly by carrying contraband goods to and from Canada. The first United States president subject to a birther movement wasn't 44, but a much lower number. That's, I'm guessing, Chester A. Arthur. A Burlington schoolboy ran away with a circus and became an international sensation under the Big Top. So basically, this is just going through some of the more colorful figures in Vermont history. And I think that's like especially if anything has to do with like H.H. Holmes, I think this is a more interesting, spooky read to get into like the fall season. And also I need to read it anyway for my research, so I think it's like a win-win on both sides. And then also spooky, and also for my, you know, work in progress research, I would like to hopefully crack open the forensic casebook, which is basically giving you an idea of what forensic science is, like the science of crime scene investigation. Like it says on the back, it goes into securing a crime scene, identifying blood spatter patterns, collecting fingerprints, prints, and feet, lip, and ear prints, interpreting stages of body's decay, examining hair and fiber evidence, trace evidence from firearms, and explosive lifting DNA prints, which is interesting. Computer crime, forensic photography, career paths in criminal science. It like covers all of that basics. So I am very interested in this, and so I think this is going to be really, really informative and really, really spooky, and I'm pretty excited to get into this. With everything else, I don't know if this is one that I am going to have time to crack open to start doing like my research reading in or not, but I'm hopeful, and if I don't, it's okay. It's perfect for October anyway. But that's that. That's everything that I'm hoping to get to in September. I'm feeling pretty excited about this TBR, but I feel like I've said that before over the past few months, that I'm really excited about this TBR and then I don't actually get to it. So, we'll see. But I am legitimately excited about this TBR. I think it has some really important reads on it. It's got some really like fun fall reads on it, and fall is my favorite season, so I'm hoping that maybe that drive will get me to actually be able to finish more than just one book off of my TBR or something. So we'll see. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you would like, and I will see y'all in next video. Bye.